riding a bike and you notice someone else riding a bike that had something a little bit wrong going on, like their seat way too low, or them not using gears, like an extremely low cadence, wrong size frame, you know, big guy on a small bike. These are all little things that you notice as a cyclist when you're riding. At least I do. I'm always eyes wide open. Speaking of eyes wide open, this guy came around me a little bit with a big smile on his face. I love to see cyclists out there enjoying themselves, riding bikes. And that's just it. Sometimes rather than thinking someone is doing something wrong, think about what they're doing right. Like that guy's out riding his bike. He passed me, his helmet was all crooked on his head. His bike is way too small for him. That thing is making noise, like you could hear that chain coming from way back. I wasn't about ready to tell him anything. I just said, hey man, I see you're enjoying that bike. Thanks for spreading a good cheer. So there is a difference. As a professional cycling coach and an aficionado of bicycle retail, a bicycle salesman, you know, I had to be careful of what I was just telling people, you know. And I don't want to tell anybody anything. If you ask my advice, I'm there for you. But when you are selling a bicycle, your main job is, to me, it's not the product sales. It's to keep that energy of the cycling journey in that person. Like they walked into your bike shop. Some people haven't bought a bike since they were kids, or even then they didn't buy that bike. Some people buy bikes every year. Some people buy multiple bikes every year. You know, so my job is to assess their excitement and roll with it. It's so funny to watch how people size a bike. You know, they'll step over the frame, and years ago that was the test. You step over the frame and, you know, you try to pick up the front wheel, and if you got, you know, an inch or two around the frame, between the frame and your scrotum, you know, that's the right size. That's not the way you size a bike anymore. Or, you know, come in and they touch the top of their hip. And every bike, the seat's supposed to be at the top of their hip. And that's not true anymore, but there's a lot of different bikes out there now. You know, there's cruisers, which inherently feet forward design. You can have a lower seat, flat foot style. A performance road bike compared to an endurance road bike compared to a mountain bike. I mean, it's not all the seat up to your hip. But what I found is if people remember that, their brain is remembering something about cycling. So even though that process has changed, I didn't necessarily tell people, hey, that's not the way you do it anymore. This is how you do it. You let them roll with it. And then you make sure that if they do want to sit on a bike or test a bike, you put them in the right size bike. I surprised a lot of people when they tell me that the seat was too low for them or too high. And then they sat on it like, oh, this is just right. Once again, that's on a test ride. So I never hung my hat on just right when someone's went around the block once. That's why, you know, a good bike shop asks you to come back in, you know, after you get used to the bike and let you have a second fit. As a pro fitter, you know, I'm Retül certified, so I actually, you know, have dove into fit a little bit deeper than most on a professional level. I still get a lot of people want me to fit their bikes. And a lot of times I have to take a fit that someone's done and dial it down a little bit, because sometimes it's not always about peak performance. It's about, you know, how long you can spend on that bike and put performance through an entire ride rather than just 30 seconds. So there's a lot more fit. I'll go into fit in another video or multiple videos about fit. But I'm just talking about the nuances of people riding a bike. Today I saw, you know, a lot of people out there trying to get fitness in the morning, or getting fitness, you know, but it's just funny the way some people go about it. You know what I noticed today? I saw a lot of older guys kitted out in like road kits on 26-inch mountain bikes. You know, most of these guys, I was hanging in kind of an affluent area of town, and I'm sure most of these guys are driving nice cars and have multi-million-dollar houses, and it might be time for them to upgrade the bike from the old 26-inch mountain bike and the roadie kit. But what I did like to see was them out riding their bikes, you know. But I do think that if people get the right bike for the purpose, upgrades a little bit, that they'll enjoy the bike ride more and want to do it more, or get their friends into it. So I saw a lot of people riding solo today, and I think a lot of that, it's a Sunday morning, so a lot of people are out trying to get their fitness maybe before their family gets up and commitments come. But I did see a lot of people just out enjoying the ride. But I think people can enjoy it more when you see someone riding on the tip of their fingertips the whole time. That means they probably have the wrong size bike. I know a lot of guys that, you know, have an aggressive looking bike because they like the way it looks. Hey, I'm vain, I like that too. But if it doesn't fit you and you have to be on your fingertips the whole time, or you're uncomfortable, then you should probably think about that bike choice. So I saw a lot of guys, you know, on bikes where the handlebars were so low that obviously they weren't enjoying the ride as much because they're having to be on their fingertips so much. Big guys on small bikes, I've seen that a lot just in the last hour. Small guys on big bikes, you know, they got that seat slammed all the way down. Noisy chains. You can hear these bikes coming from miles down the road. You know, I do notice things, you know. Some people notice cars, some people notice the opposite sex. I'm not against that at all, but I notice bikes. You know, if I see a bike, it catches my eye. And I don't care what kind of bike, I just like bikes. So, I mean, I could tell you funny stories being caught playing on my phone in the middle of the night. I was never looking at porn, I was always looking at bikes at 2 o'clock in the morning. But that's me and that's my style. I am the bicycle rider. Bart Luther's my name. I enjoy cycling culture. And I am gonna put my hands on my handlebars and get a good zone 2 workout in. This is one of my, right now I'm a 0.09, so I'm not even, I shouldn't say I'm not touching my fitness. It's good to be a zone 1. Does a lot for your left ventricle and your mitochondria, all those things that I want to train better going into 2026. Owning the bike shop, I didn't get a chance to do a lot of zone 2 rides. Now I have a chance to do zone 2 rides. So all my competition out there on the race series, I'm going to come back strong this year if I can keep a routine. But for now, I'm just enjoying the ride. I want you guys to enjoy the ride with me. I'm going to do more of these rambling videos as I'm riding my bike. But that's just one of the things I noticed today is so many people on what I would consider doing wrong, but in a way it's all really right. They're out riding their bikes. One thing I wanted to mention for you guys to think about, like as a group ride leader, I got a lot of people into cycling. I saw them going from a hybrid bike or something to a road bike to jumping in on the pace line groups. And you know, there's certain lingo we use for safety, there's certain mannerisms we do, and when you learn those you feel good. But believe me, you don't have to yell car back every time there's a car behind you. That's only in those situations where something's coming up quick, there's not a lot of room. You might see some of the riders in front with a double pace line. You know, there's times to use car back. But I've been on some group rides lately with, you know, people I know that have come up the ranks, and they want to yell car back at every car. I mean, I need a little peace and quiet in my head. Or pointing out every color change on the road. You know, on an asphalt, a lot of times there's, you know, asphalt patches, different colors of asphalt. That's not necessarily a road hazard. And you see people pointing out all kinds of stuff that you don't really have to point out. Believe me, if you see a pothole or, you know, a stick or an obstacle in the road, maybe a dog up ahead, that's all good stuff to point out for safety. But you don't have to point out every little thing. Keep your hands on the handlebars. Concentrate on your breathing. You know, concentrate on the wheel in front of you But you don't have to yell, car back, every time there's a car. Most of us have been riding on the road for years. We kind of have that sixth sense when the cars are coming. Anyway, Bart the Bicycle Rider. Hey, if you like what I do, please like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and it lets the YouTube algorithm know you guys are watching me. It's getting dark for the camera, and I want to get some miles in. So I'm going to put down the camera. Wish you all a nice evening, and let me know what kind of subjects you want me to talk about on these rambling cycling videos. I'm going to do a whole lot of it during this winter. And believe me, I can always find something to talk about. But if you've got some specific questions or thoughts or something, let me know. I've got a million ideas of what to talk about, but I want your input as well. Bart from Bicycle Rider YouTube, over and out for now. You guys have a amazing evening. You get out there.